here. Thanks to the Think India team for organizing this event. I always like to be back to the student days in an auditorium. So, my talk is around technology and entrepreneurship for social good. Yeah, so what is social entrepreneurship? Have you guys ever heard this term? Right. So, it has a variety of definitions, but the most basic one is that you are doing a business for a social cause. Next. Does anyone recognize this person? Yeah, so he is Mr. Harish Hande. He founded Selco in 1995. That time, social entrepreneurship wasn't even a fancy term, right? So it's been 23 years. He's working on providing solar energy solutions to people who are not privileged enough to buy. So he has built a model of financial engineering and using the latest technology, which is solar power, to brighten up lives, right? But why does he work for so long without chasing money for 23 years? The drive that keeps him going is basically this. Can you recognize the city? Right. So this is Mumbai. Do you see the inequality that is there? Right. So it has the largest concentration of richest people and the largest concentration of people in the slums. And this is what is not right with our world. Right. This is why there are conflicts. This is why we need change. Next. So what do people think of young people these days? Everyone wants to run after money, right? But there is a gradual change that is happening, which is that people are actually running after this, not that. Right? How many of you are running after this? Okay, very few. So maybe more will run. So the good thing is millennials are now preferring to bring change. They want change. They are anti-administration, you could call. They are rebellious. Right? This is a change that has happened only with the millennial generation, and it was not very effective before. Next. So the good part about India is we are 65% below the age of 35 years. So that's a lot of young capital, a lot of like-minded people who can collaborate and bring up a lot of good things for India. So this is a demographic dividend of India. Next. So how does one become a social entrepreneur? It all basically, for most of the people, starts with a problem. Yeah. So for me, it was Udhaar. So I co-founded Udhaar in 2015. What Udhaar does, as the name says, is basically we are trying to solve the problem of access to credit in India. But how did I land on founding Udhaar? This happened with a personal experience. So I applied for a credit card and I had a well-paying job after my graduation. And I was supposed to fly to the US, so I thought, okay, get an Indian credit card. Now when I applied, there was all this documentation that happens. Most of you are students here. Once you graduate, that process will feel normal to you. So it's a tedious process and you have to fill up a lot of forms and all. And now after 21 days, the bank tells you that we can't approve a credit card to you. I said, why? And they don't give a reason. So what happens in this case is the bank asks for something called as a credit score. And the problem in India is people don't have a credit score because people have not borrowed before. So with a credit score, what happens is if you have borrowed before or if you have taken a loan from a bank, then you will have a credit score and the bank or NBFCs will give you loan based on that. But this is a very bad situation or a deadlock in India because credit cards are not popular in India. But if you look at the Udhaar, Kirana store Udhaar, you all take Udhaar at your canteen, do you or do you not? Right. So that's what happens. So people have taken that Udhaar. We thought, can we digitize that and can we give people a chance to borrow? Maybe a small amount. So maybe 500, 1,000 rupees people could borrow with an app with just their Aadhaar number and that would work. So this is how the genesis of idea of Udhaar came. Now what happens is, so it has taken time. We are yet to go live. I'm still working on making sure that this product fits the bottom of the pyramid. So Akash was mentioning building for the next billions, right? It's a very difficult situation. You don't have internet connectivity, you have language challenges, people are not literate enough, they are not, forget financial literacy, right? So this is how there are new challenges which are unique to India, and if you belong here, you will understand or relate to it more. Next. So I was telling my story that I co-founded Udhaar. Does anyone have seen this show, TV Pictures? So there was some story that happened with this show. Is when this show was going on, there was the first episode when the lead protagonist Naveen gets a offer to fly abroad. The same thing happened with me. I had a flight to the US and I had 48 hours to decide whether I am starting Udhaar or going to the US. One of the toughest 48 hours I spent, and somehow I chose the other one, which is Udhaar, and I left. Okay, US hota rahega. So just showed this that it was a coincidentally. So usually TV shows have a disclaimer saying that there is no resemblance to a real story. There it was. So next. So I was telling about what requires or what builds a social entrepreneur. There are three key things, and these are the most three key things that I have built personally over the 3 years I've been working on Udhaar and a couple of other products. So problem which you can relate to. The problem has to be big. If someone is sitting in the US, he will not relate to the pain that Indians have because they use credit cards day in and day out, right? Indians don't have that privilege. Passion. Any problem solving requires 5, 7, 10 years, and you have to be committed to that. And if you don't have passion to solve that problem, you will give up. You will give breakdown basically. Sorry. Yeah. So there comes the third point. Perseverance. It's very important. You will be rejected, dejected hundreds of times, but you will have to stand up every day and say, no, I want to solve this problem. This problem is not solved. Fine. So problem, passion, and perseverance. Next. So what is this? This is a roller coaster, right? Looks glamorous, right? Everyone wants a ride of this. This is what entrepreneurship is. You read all the articles on your story, you feel, oh my God, he's raising funds, he's going to parties, he's going abroad, he has become a millionaire. But let's assume someone on this roller coaster is riding a lonely ride. He will be obviously thrilled at times, but he will be scared as well. And that's what entrepreneurship is. There are more lows than the highs or the upsides of entrepreneurship. So it's a scary journey, it's a lonely journey, and you have to be very tough to just pass this test. So entrepreneurship is a roller coaster with loneliness. Like, it's not that you are with your friends enjoying and saying that I had a good time. But the thrill is in enjoying this ride. Next. Everyone says dream big, dream X, Y, Z, become an astronaut, become a robot, become an actor, and you all are. Yeah. Sorry, robot is. Yeah. So become an astronaut, become a robotist or physicist, whatever. Right? And some of you have dreams. I want to act, I want to be a dancer, I want to earn fame. Choose the one which says that I will enjoy the struggle of being an entrepreneur, being an astronaut, or being an actor. Because you will have a lot of dreams. I do have. I want to be a cricketer, but will I enjoy the struggle of being a cricketer, putting in 14 hours a day, playing with that same bat and ball in the nets? Maybe not, right? But I enjoy the struggle of being an entrepreneur, and that's why this helps you decide which one to pick. Next. So most of you are students here. The good part is you are in a university setting. I still miss my IIT Guwahati days. So the best part is being in a university provides you a lot of things. You can today experiment a lot and fail. No one will raise an eyebrow. You are not working. You don't have a liability to earn or pay for your parents' need or support your parents or family. So you can experiment. You have the best innovation ecosystem out there, right? Your faculty is supportive. There are a lot of competition happening. For me, I think the startup journey did not start when I started Udhaar. It started 7 years back. So I was applying to these programs abroad which said, okay, we will select few entrepreneurs, we'll take them for 7 days. So exposure plays an important part. Like the Mela that you are having, Srishti event, there are people who are competing in different challenges. This exposure will help. Maybe you will not get selected, maybe you will not win, but the exposure is important. Like maybe you are getting listening to talks from people who have come from across parts of India here, right? So these are exposure and it helps. Second point is communication. So communication is very important. All with the UN goals, communication is a very key part, especially, so what happens when you become an entrepreneur is, you have to send out mails, you have to prepare decks, PowerPoints, and Excel sheets. All of this is part of kind of communication that you have to do, and it is more of like 80% of your job. So if you are not good at communicating, it will be very difficult for you in the future. The third, reading. This habit is very important to inculcate as you are a student and after you graduate as well. Read books, read blogs, read whatever you find, but not only just Instagram or Facebook updates or Snapchat. Right. Next. So this is where you all have access to technology. You all are tech savvy engineers, right? But can you use that technology to build your brand? If you don't stand out, it's a crowd. As I said, we are 65% under 35, so there will be a lot of competition as well, right? If you don't stand out, you'll be lost. So we receive a lot of internship applications, saying like hundreds of applications. Who will we select? Like if there's only one position, so someone has to stand out. How can you do that? Maybe you can become an Instagram blogger. Maybe start a channel on YouTube, write blogs, write about some specific thing that is happening. So start building a brand leveraging technology. Next. One more thing I learned personally, very important, I wanted to mention this, not some kind of a gap, but learn to say no and learn to hear no. So learn to say no to a lot of things which you don't want to do, and don't say, okay, my friend ne bola, so I will go and join some party or whatever. So learn to say no. Learn to hear no. This is even more important because you will get rejected 99 times out of 100. Right? So to be standing after being rejected 99 times is very difficult. So you practice, learn to hear no and learn to say no. Next. Have idols. So if you have some idols, maybe it is Saurav Ganguly, Abdul Kalam, Narendra Modi, whoever it is, have them. Have one. Maybe Elon Musk, maybe Mark Zuckerberg. What it does is it provides you inspiration and motivation, because a lot of times, as I said, in this journey of being an entrepreneur, there are bad times, and this keeps you inspired. For me, when I was making that decision of going to the US or India, that same time Dr. Kalam died, and I don't know, I somehow feel it gave an emotional inspiration to me that no, I should pursue something related to India. It was part of a weightage of the decision, but yeah, that happens, and it always keeps me inspired, because his goal was target 3 billion. How could the bottom 3 billion people be having the same facilities as the top 3 billion people have? Next. So there are a lot of sectors which you can work on, which is around healthcare, education, gender equality, food, agriculture. All these are massive problems in India, right? And once you take it to India, you can extend it to Southeast Asia, Africa, those models, and you can go global. But you have to start. So start looking at problems which you encounter yourself or your family or your relatives encounter, and then start building a business model. How can I solve? How can I think big? How can my idea be a bigger one? And you can obviously look up to inspirational stories like you were watching in the previous videos. Next. The support ecosystem, again, this is the best time to be an entrepreneur today. So people who want job creators in India, there is support system available. There is Startup India, Stand Up India, lot of programs happening. India has come to a stage where people recognize an entrepreneur. So if you are one, people will not say, hey, what is this entrepreneur? I don't know, right? So people today respect entrepreneurs, and there's a lot of hand-holding that is happening. Mentor-mentee relationships are being built. The second aspect is about reaching out. Reach out to people. So get over your fear of hesitation. Hey, how will I send a mail to the CEO of Quicker? You should. You can. Right. So that's what you should be doing. Reach out to people for help. Next. So I rest my case with this, and I believe everyone becomes a change maker, because we need millions of change makers for billions. Next. Thank you. I end with a quote from Mr. Bill Trader. He is one of the leading social entrepreneurs. That it's not just about building